The soft hum of my apartment never felt so loud. I was sitting by the floor-to-ceiling window, the late afternoon sun brushing my cheeks, fingers curled around a warm mug of coffee, silk blouse slightly wrinkled from an afternoon of restless pacing. My phone buzzed again, a vibration sharp enough to pull me out of my quiet reverie. I didn't want to look, but the sender's name made my chest tighten. Dad. I swiped it open. We change all the locks on the front door. Your brother deserves this house. But call me when you're ready to talk. My hands went cold, the mug trembling slightly. I had spent years building a life my family didn't see, didn't understand. The house my father just texted about wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of everything they assumed I couldn't have, couldn't earn. My younger brother, lucky in charm and in timing, always seemed to slide through life without the effort I had spent blood, sweat, and late nights putting in. And yet, I felt a flicker of something unexpected. A quiet, smug satisfaction. If this was meant to hurt me, it wouldn't. I had something they didn't. My independence, my secret victories, the life I'd quietly crafted while their eyes were elsewhere. I stared at the city skyline, fingers brushing the chipped polish on my nails, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled. This isn't the end. This is just the beginning. I remember the exact moment I realized I couldn't depend on my family to see me for who I was. I was 23, standing in the living room of that same house, the scent of polished wood and my mother's lavender perfume hanging heavy in the air. My father was pacing, voice low but sharp, while my brother, Caleb, lounged on the couch with his usual easy smirk. I just don't think Sophie understands, Dad said, eyes avoiding mine. This house, it's Caleb's. He's the one who's going to take care of it. I felt my stomach knot, my hands curling into fists. But I've been here all my life, Dad. I've worked for it too, in my own way. Doesn't that count? He shook his head. No, Sophie. You're too ambitious for this. Too independent. He needs the stability. I remember the sting of rejection like a slap across my cheek. Not because they preferred Caleb. I had always known he was their favorite, but because they couldn't even see me, couldn't acknowledge my achievements, my dreams, my efforts. My throat tightened, a lump forming that made it impossible to speak. My younger brother shrugged, leaning back, as if the whole world had always been handed to him. And then, from the corner of the room, I saw it. My grandmother's old leather-bound journal lying on the side table. She had given it to me a year before, scribbled with advice and reminders that I was capable, that my worth wasn't tied to anyone else's approval. I picked it up, fingertips brushing the worn edges, and remembered her words. Sophie, your value is yours alone. Never let anyone decide it for you. That night, I packed my essentials into a battered suitcase, leaving behind the familiar smell of polished wood and lavender. I didn't need their approval. I didn't need their house. I needed my own path, my own fight, and my own life. The first step was terrifying, exhilarating, and liberating all at once. I stepped out of that house, into the uncertain night, and whispered to myself, I will make them see me. Not now, not for them, but for me. The first few months were brutal. I slept on a thin mattress in a tiny studio apartment, the hum of the city outside my window a constant reminder that life didn't slow down for anyone. My grandmother's journal rested on the nightstand, its pages worn from constant reading. Your value is yours alone. I clung to those words, as if they were a lifeline. I took odd jobs at first, coffee shop shifts that stretched into 12-hour days, freelancing odd design projects, anything that kept the lights on. But every night, after everyone else had gone to sleep, I returned to my sketchpad, my laptop, my plans. I had a vision, a business, a life, a version of myself that wouldn't need anyone's permission. That's when I met Margaret Hayes. She was a woman in her late 50s, running a boutique marketing firm downtown. Sharp, precise, and fearless, she saw something in me, maybe the same spark my grandmother had recognized. Most people your age would crumble under the pressure you're already handling, Margaret said over our first coffee meeting, eyes steady. But you're relentless. Let me help you turn that relentlessness into something real. Her mentorship became my secret weapon. Days blurred into nights. Strategy sessions, cold emails, learning contracts, pitching myself to people who didn't even know my name. My energy cracked sometimes, exhaustion etching lines into my young face, but every small victory, a first signed client, a profitable project, a compliment from someone I respected, felt like a heartbeat of validation. I learned to fight stereotypes quietly, to outwork anyone who doubted me, to grow without needing applause. My social media remained modest, a few casual photos, never revealing the extent of what I'd built. My family thought I was struggling, still finding my way, still dependent. The irony was delicious. Though I didn't dwell on it, my focus was always forward. By the end of 3 years, I had transformed. My small studio had become a sleek office, walls lined with projects I had executed, artwork I had collected from local artists I admired. I had my first team of employees, people I had trained, inspired, and believed in. I had wealth, independence, and a confidence that no message from home could shake. And still, every night before bed, I kept the journal open, turning the pages, whispering to the girl I once was, "You are enough. You always were." The world outside that apartment no longer intimidated me, and when my father's message arrived about the house, I realized I didn't just have something to show. I had everything. The knock at the door was sharp, deliberate. I straightened my blazer, smoothing the silk of my blouse, and walked to the entrance of my office, a space that was as much a statement as it was functional. Expensive art lined the walls, a soft rug muted the hardwood floors, and my desk gleamed with polished wood and carefully stacked contracts. Everything reflected the life I had quietly built while they assumed I was struggling. I opened the door to find my father and brother standing there, their expressions a mixture of expectation and condescension. Caleb still had that smug smile, as if the universe had always bent in his favor. Dad's eyes flickered around the room, confusion already written across his face. Sophie, Dad started, clearing his throat. We assumed. I held up a hand. Assumed what, exactly? My voice was calm, controlled, but every word carried a weight they hadn't anticipated. Caleb stepped forward, smirking nervously. You still live here? I let the silence hang for a moment, allowing the absurdity of their assumptions to settle. Then I gestured toward the sleek glass walls, the awards lining the shelves, the art pieces, and finally my laptop open to a presentation of my latest project. I don't just live here, I said slowly, deliberately. I own this. I built this. This company, these projects, this team, they're all mine. And I've been doing it while you thought I was struggling. While you thought I couldn't. Their faces went through the motions of disbelief, confusion, and shock. Caleb's jaw tightened, his eyes darting from the office to me as if he couldn't quite comprehend that the sister he always underestimated had surpassed him. Dad's posture stiffened. The man who had once dismissed my ambition now looked small. You're serious? Dad asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I smiled, the satisfaction quiet but undeniable. I've never been more serious. Every late night, every setback, every time I proved to myself that I could do this alone, it led to this. And yes, I know about your little text this morning. You want to change the locks? Go ahead. It won't make a difference. Caleb's smirk faltered completely. But you're worth more than. How is this possible? I leaned against my desk, feeling the strength in my own body, in my own decisions. Because I worked for it. Because I refused to let anyone else define me. Because I realized that my life doesn't need your approval. I'm not asking for validation, Dad. I'm showing you what happens when someone finally believes in themselves. The silence stretched. They looked around at the office, the awards, the proof of my work. And then I saw it in Dad's eyes, a flicker of shame, a hint of guilt, but also awe. For the first time, he was seeing me. I didn't wait for their apologies. I didn't need them. I had already won, in a way they had never imagined possible. I watched Dad shift uncomfortably, his eyes avoiding mine, while Caleb's fingers drummed nervously on the armrest of a chair. The room felt charged, a delicate tension hanging between past grievances and present reality. This was my moment, the one I had been preparing for in every quiet night of struggle, every small victory that nobody had seen. "I'll say this once," I began, my voice steady, controlled, and unflinching. "If you want to continue being a part of my life, it comes with conditions. Not demands, not punishments, but boundaries. Because the old patterns stop here." Dad swallowed hard, nodding, unsure whether to resist or listen. Caleb's smirk was gone, replaced with a flicker of defensiveness. "First," I said, turning slightly to emphasize my point, "if you want to step into my world, you need to respect my independence. That means no more assumptions about what I can or can't do, and definitely no more undermining me in front of others." Dad nodded slowly, and Caleb muttered, "Fine." "Second," I continued, "you must show accountability. Mistakes are fine. Arrogance, favoritism, and dismissiveness are not. You will apologize when necessary and take real steps to correct your behavior. Actions matter more than words." I paused, letting the weight of that sink in. My heart was steady, my posture unwavering. For so long, I had lived in the shadow of their choices, their approval, and now it was reversed. "Third," I said, fixing Caleb with a level gaze, "you need to pursue your own growth. Stop expecting life to hand you everything. Take responsibility for your career, your relationships, and your decisions. Stop leaning on me, and start earning respect on your own." There was a long silence. I could see the resistance in Caleb, the guilt in Dad, and yet beneath it, a glimmer of recognition. They understood I wasn't playing games. Finally, I softened slightly, letting warmth enter my words without losing strength. "I care about you both. That hasn't changed. But I will no longer allow toxicity to define our relationship. If you accept these conditions, there's a path forward. If not, well, I've done perfectly fine building my life without it." Their faces were a mix of contemplation and tentative understanding. They realized the balance had shifted, that I had power now, and it was tempered not by revenge, but by clarity, fairness, and growth. For the first time, I felt a true sense of authority over my own life. No one could diminish me, manipulate me, or dictate my worth. I had the upper hand, and I wasn't going to squander it. Weeks passed, and the tension in the house gradually shifted. Dad started making real changes, slowing down, listening more, asking questions instead of giving orders. Caleb, stubborn as ever, began showing glimpses of effort. He enrolled in courses to better his career, started taking responsibility for his choices. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress, and for the first time, I saw them as people capable of growth, rather than obstacles in my life. I sat at my desk one morning, the sunlight spilling across my office floor, fingers brushing over the worn edges of my grandmother's journal. I traced her handwriting. "Your value is yours alone." That advice, given so many years ago, had guided me through every late night, every doubt, every rejection. I smiled, realizing how far I had come. I was no longer the girl trembling in the living room, begging to be seen. I was Sophie Bennett, independent, accomplished, and whole. I looked around in my office, the art, the awards, the contracts, the thriving team, and felt a quiet pride. I hadn't just survived. I had flourished, and I hadn't needed anyone to hand me success. I had earned it, fought for it, built it from scratch. Later, Dad called. "Sophie, I just wanted to say thank you for showing me, for giving me a chance to see myself in a better way." His voice wavered, and I knew he meant it. I didn't feel the urge to gloat. Instead, I felt compassion, tempered with the firm knowledge that my boundaries were absolute. I had given them a path, and they had chosen to walk it. That was enough. I glanced at the journal one last time before setting it aside, the words echoing in my mind like a gentle mantra. "You are enough. You always were." As I stepped onto the balcony, the city skyline stretching endlessly before me, I breathed in the crisp air. My life was mine. Every choice, every triumph, every hard-won moment belonged to me. I was free. I was strong. I was unstoppable. And in that quiet, golden light, I whispered to myself, the weight of old wounds finally lifted. This house, this life, this world, I own it. Not because they gave it to me, but because I earned it.